Hey, what's up, Hoosier Nation? Great to be back here with you. Another episode of Under the Hood with IU Football, presented by your Central Indiana Ford dealers. Your Central Indiana Ford dealers, proud sponsor of Indiana football. Reminder to visit your local Central Indiana Ford dealer today. And today we get the great pleasure of welcoming defensive ends coach here for the Indiana Hoosiers, Buddha Williams is with us. And man, Buddha, so great to get a chance to chat with you here a little bit. And you know, you're one of these guys coming in that, unlike some, didn't necessarily have the direct connection to Coach Cignetti and the James Madison staff previously. So let's start with where that connection kind of came from and how you ended up here in B-Town.
When I was at North Dakota State, we had the privilege to match up against James Madison in two of the most important games probably in my career. One was in the national championship in 2019, and then the other one was in the semifinal game to go to the national championship in 2021. Right. So it's just like we always just kept getting matched up, So you kind of just both staffs kind of get to know each other just by competition and competing against one another.
Right. And then so your background, you see what's going on the opposite sideline, which is super cool. And now you guys get to come together here in Bloomington. And then just looking at your personal background, obviously defensive back at Charleston, right? In the early part of the 2000s. And then that was your first coaching gig, right? Was at Charleston coaching linebacker. So you played DB, but for the last, let's say 8 years, you've been on the front, right, on the defensive side, coaching defensive line in some form or fashion. Tell us about that kind of transition, going from back to front as a player and now as a coach with the big guys.
I had that ability. I got recruited to play safety, and then I got moved like a nickel outside linebacker type.
Gotcha.
And then when I got finished playing, just moving and coaching the linebackers was kind of a comfort zone at the time. But we had a coaching change at University of Charleston where Tony DeMayo, who was my coach, retired. And so new staff came in, and just like anything, just kind of a change of scenery and kind of growing is kind of what triggered, to be honest with you, that move to go to Ashland University as a D-line GA is kind of what made me be in the situation now that allowed me to get the opportunities that I got now. Because once I got that GA job at D-line, I kind of like never been with another position group. Kind of fell in love with it. A lot of opportunities, all my opportunities kind of presented itself as working with the front. It's something that I had to learn from other people, learn from players that I coached in the past. So it kind of got me out of my comfort zone. And allowed me to continue to just to grow as a coach and grow in the game. I'm learning more about the position.
Well, obviously the defensive ends, guys are going to get after the passer. Anybody that can affect a quarterback, we think of as like those blue chip type positions, especially in the work that I do at NFL Network and evaluating guys for the draft. Everybody's looking for pass rushers. Everybody's looking for quarterbacks if you don't have that elite tier. So what's your philosophy when it comes to what's your foundational principles with your position group guys? Like, what do you want them to look like on tape when we get out and watch them inside the Rock this fall?
Proud ourselves on the effort that we play with. When you pop on the tape, man, I hope that there's no group in the country that play harder than us. You can look at Little League football, you can look at the NFL. We just pride ourselves on how hard we play and how fast we play. And then I think big plays will happen if you're able to push people buttons, play faster, and then play harder for a long period of time.
And so then, obviously, like you're not one trick ponies, right? I mean, we got to stop the run. We got to rush the passer. We got to get all that done. But when it does come to those techniques of getting after the passer, like how much time can you spend with these guys on fine tuning, their moves and those, very specific techniques that may work for one guy or, different move might work for another. How do you guys, kind of budget time to that kind of fundamental work with those important techniques?
Well, that's where it just kind of to each player's skill set and what they can do, what they can bring, who are they? is the part that we're trying to figure out right now in the off season. Just by movements, body types, size, strength, power, the whole nine. And then from there, you kind of let these guys create their own identity. And then from there, we can specialize in each individual guy. Going to get coached different. Going to have a different set of toolboxes. Going to have a different set of teaching. But it might be two or three that they got some similarities. So you can kind of pocket those guys. And kind of work those guys together. But I like to just let guys be who they are, and then kind of work towards that and build up those strengths.
Almost like, hey, like I see this is what you're really good at. Let's try to figure out a way to make it even better.
Absolutely.
Kind of tailoring it, that way. And I know that's what, spring ball upcoming here is all about, right? Is that fundamental work. So, when you look at this spring schedule coming up here and these practices that you guys are going to have culminating with the game, of course, inside the Rock on a Friday night of Little Five weekend, which is going to be awesome here in Bloomington. Give me an idea of how you see that in terms of, hey, let's get everybody familiar with what we need to do with our system, with the way that we're going to play from an X's and O's standpoint to that foundational, technique and kind of, merging those two things here. How do you look at that opportunity of spring practice to work on all that?
Well, we ain't going to be no finished product by any means. I mean, because we still technically got 3 more seasons. We got spring ball, summer, and then we got fall camp. So you got 3 different segments where you could continue to perfect your craft and get better at those skill sets and give you those more opportunities to kind of fine tune the things that you need to work on. So we find small goals, man, just a couple of things that we're trying to get accomplished in the spring, get those done and then move on. Then after spring ball, now we're moving on this summer, find those things that we need to work on. And then we got fall camp. Hit those things that we need to work on, and then you can start when season start. You can kind of get see a product that's like, oh man, these guys got significantly better, and just the fine tuning the small details, and not trying to fix everything and create a whole new player in 3 weeks, 3-4 weeks. That's not what we're looking for. So just the small victories, fine tune the details, each and every kind of section that we have, and go from there.
Step-by-step process. I love the idea of separating it into 3 seasons, right? We got spring, we got summer, we got fall camp, and then we got the season where the W's, really matter coming up in the fall. So that's an exciting way to kind of break it down. So as we look at some of the guys on this in your room, right, in this defensive end group, I'll go back to where you last came to us from, which was Colorado State, where you got to help tutor a guy who ended up being a Mountain West Defensive Player of the Year, and Bo Kamara. And now you get a chance to tutor another Kamara, no relation, right? We talked about a little bit, Mikhail Kamara, one of the transfers that came in from James Madison. You were new coming here. You got a bunch of guys that were already here, and then you add some into the transfer portal. How do you all come together, as one?
Well, to be honest with you, it's kind of a perfect storm because we all learning together. We all knew.
Yeah.
And especially for somebody like JMF, who was a linebacker, now have to play a new position. We all learning. So whether we learning a new system, we learning a new, learning each other, right. Learning new people. So we kind of in this thing together. And I kind of think that's kind of our niche. And I think that's going to be a strength of ours that we learning from each other this go around. And like I said, we ain't gonna be no finished product by spring. Right. So we got some time to kind of gel, know who our teammates are, know who each other are, and know our strengths and weaknesses. Right now, we're just trying to find our identity. And they trying to find they trying to get used to me. So I think now we in that growing stage, that introductory stage where we're just trying to get to know each other.
I'll get back to JMF and the position switch here in just a second, as you mentioned. But for a guy like Kamara, who comes over from James Madison with some knowledge of the system, has that been valuable for the room to kind of have, kind of a guy who can kind of help translate the language a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's huge. Anytime that you can lean on a guy that's done it in this system and done it at a high level. Listen, pride to a side. We all learning together. Right. And I think that's huge. I'm like I said from the beginning, I learned from the players. Every last one of them that I coached, I take something from them because they the ones out there doing it. So definitely leaning on him far as the schematic stuff. Now I can bring some stuff that I think I can bring to his game from a
Sure.
technique standpoint, from a mental standpoint. But that's all of us just learning from each other, and I think that's the most important piece when you're talking about building something.
And so Jacob Mangum Farrar comes to Indiana from Stanford a year ago, played basically off the ball linebacker next to Aaron Casey last year. Was a really good player at that level. And now you got him moving down up front. Tell me about what goes into thinking about that position switch for a player like that, and then the actual, execution of it. What are some of the challenges going to be?
Well, because the further you're away from the ball, the more like you have to kind of process stuff, and then kind of your natural instincts don't really take over as much. But the closer you get to the ball, it allows you to be more free, especially the scheme that we play, allow you to be more free, don't have to think as much, and just be a terror. And that's kind of what we're trying to force JMF to do this year, is just eliminate the thinking, and kind of let your natural ability kick in, because he has all the natural tools: big, fast, strong, can run. And we just trying to enhance that stuff and allow him to play a lot faster without all the thinking and processing stuff in the back end, trying to get guys lined up where he could just line himself up and he could just go.
It's fun. It's kind of interesting. I was talking, last year, watching him, especially early in the year, thought he had a real knack for getting to the passer in blitz situations, right? As an extra rusher. Some of that, do you see some of that on tape from when you watched him from a year ago? Is that part of the thinking at all?
Oh, absolutely. We watched all these guys like clips from a year ago, and that was definitely one of the things that stood out. And then you look at the roster, and then you meet him, and you see how big he is, and how athletic he was.
It's a grown man right there for sure.
Then you start to get kind of big-eyed, like what we can do with this guy. So that was definitely a thing that popped out on tape.
And then just a couple more here on some of the other guys that you're getting the chance to coach now. Linnell Carr Jr., guy who played a ton last year, right? In one of those kind of pass rusher type roles. And where do you see some growth with a player who's been around college football for a while, but now getting a chance to learn a new system and to take in some new coaching?
He was very productive a year ago too as well, but trying to get him to be a every down guy. That can be dominant. I know he has some TFLs and stuff like that, but just trying to work on the weak spots in his game that might not be as prolific as certain parts in his game, but also making the prolific parts in his game even more prolific, because he's extremely athletic, twitchy, plays with a motor, plays hard. So continue to enhance those things, but also get better at some of the weak spots in his game.
A couple of young players that we saw in a limited role a year ago. I'd be curious about, you've obviously got a chance to know him here for the last 3 months or so. Tootie Collins and Vincent Sneed. Sneed obviously played a little bit more, last year on a rotational basis. What do those two guys look like to you in these first couple of months that you've had a chance to sit with them?
And it's awesome that you kind of paired those guys together, because there are different types of guys. Sneed is a powerful dude, and then Collins is extremely athletic. Not Sneed's not athletic, and Collins not powerful, but that's just one skill set is that what makes him who he is, and the other skill set makes him who he is. So getting a chance to work with these guys and let them find their identity, who they are as a player, and their niche. And I think that's going to be, I'm looking forward to working with those guys on that.
Yeah. We're looking forward to seeing, some of those guys as well, work themselves into maybe more elevated roles as time progresses, certainly to get that opportunity. And I know spring is a big first step for that. Lastly here, Coach, why you love coaching so much, why you love being at the collegiate level and getting a chance to mentor guys like you have. Why did that stick out to you?
Well, seeing the development, man. When you see a guy come in and you able to have him as a baby, and then after every season you see significant growth. I think there's no better feeling than taking a guy that was struggling as a freshman and then he actually having reaping the benefits of staying and developing, and becoming an All-American, becoming a all-conference guy, becoming a starter, or even becoming a significant role player. Sure. There's no better feeling than actually getting the most out of guys and getting the best out of guys and seeing guys have success. And I think that's why that what kind of gets me going. That what gives me motivation. When guys, a lot of people might not think they have none in the chamber, but we'll continue to work with them and be process oriented, and then get the most out of guys.
That's awesome. Well, we can't wait to see it, right? Can't wait to see it with this first part, spring practice coming up here in a little bit. And we look forward to seeing your guys out on the field in the fall as well. Coach Buddha Williams with us today on Under the Hood with IU Football. Thanks again, Coach.
Thank you.